Hey guys, Ian Streetz here. First of all, really sorry. I know a couple of weeks behind in between tutorials. Went away on a holiday. Didn't think the beachfront was the best place to do the shoot. So sorry for that, but we're back on track right now. Second thing, I did mention in the last video that we were going to do the next variation of the slip. However, I've decided to change it up a little bit. What we're going to do instead is cover the basic defenses first and then take each of them up a level. So today's video is instead going to be on the bob and weave. All right, so let's do it. All right, guys, as usual, it's probably best if we start with what the bob and weave is and what it isn't. So first of all, what you want to do, and we've done the slip, so we know how that looks. A bob essentially starts with a slipping motion. What you want to do is turn away briefly and then roll underneath. Obviously, you don't want to make it two separate movements, but your bob does have an element of a slip and roll underneath it. It's probably easier to imagine it how that looks with a punch attached. So if I were to throw my straight right hand, I'm twisted, and what I do is roll as I bring my hand back to my face. I throw my punch and I roll underneath, okay? So just remember, when you're doing your bob and when you're getting your partner or friend, fighter, whatever, to do their bob, just make sure there is that element of twist to it. Otherwise, there is that chance that they're going to get nicked, unless of course they're dipping, which we'll cover later on. So that's one thing you want to make sure that's not happening. The second big thing that seems to happen when people bob when they're learning it is they remember that they want their hands up, and as soon as they start bobbing, they take their head away from their hands. Remember, this is your defense. You almost imagine you're like Tyson doing your peekaboo style. You want to be keeping your hands by your face. So there's no point trying to move your head if you're leaving your hands behind. You're just leaving yourself exposed or leaving yourself open to a fake. Because if you see someone moving their head around, all you're going to do is pretend to throw a shot until they move their head and then crack them. So make sure your person is moving their hands with their head. Second big mistake is breaking eye contact. So you'll see this when people bob, they kind of have a tendency to look down. Eye contact is super important in boxing. The shot that you don't see is usually one that's going to knock you out, okay? So when you're bobbing, just make sure you're also, don't look up and expose your chin, but you want to make sure you can see what's coming next. Don't look down. Once eye contact is broken, it's very easy for your opponent to start leaning on you, landing shots. You don't want to be in that position. Make sure you're keeping your eye contact. Next mistake, I would say, is probably too big a head movement. So people imagine they're like at a rock concert, head banging, or like it's some sort of hair advertisement, waving their hair about the place. Your head movement wants to be relatively tight. Remember, good defense is when a shot just misses. So when we were doing our slips, we were moving just a glove width so that we could counter back quickly. Same thing with our bobs. If the punch is going towards my head, I don't want to be bobbing all the way down and all the way up, okay? A good shot will just miss you, okay? So that's things we want to avoid when we're doing the bobs. We know we want to be keeping our guard in tight. We want to be keeping our hands with our head. We want to be maintaining eye contact. And what we want to do is, the movement really does come from our legs and our hips, okay? So it's not just tipping, bending away, anything like that. We're moving ourselves with our legs. Now, when it comes to feeding the bob and weave, we discussed in the 5 things to avoid. The bob and weave, number one thing, just make sure you're throwing it at the target, okay? So what you want to encourage your person to be doing is avoiding hooked shots coming at them. The slips we're using for the straight shots, the bob and weaves we're using to get out the way of the hooks, all right? So you want to make sure you're throwing it at their chin height so that they have to get underneath the shot. If you're being too nice and you're throwing it too high, they don't need to go anywhere. It's going to go straight over their head, all right? So first of all, make sure you're throwing it at the target. Second thing, generally speaking, whichever direction they're moving towards is the hand that they're going to punch with. So what I mean by that, if I'm bobbing towards my right hand side, that's going to be a small slip left. I'm going to go underneath and my weight is cocked. It's ready to throw off a right hand shot. If I were to bob this way and try and jab, it's going to miss a little bit of the power. I want to maximize that power. I'm going to roll underneath and I'm going to crack with that right hand. Likewise, if I'm going to bob to my left, I'm going to twist, I'm going to bob, and I'm going to come back with that left hook, okay? So whichever direction you are bobbing is the hand that's going to come, all right? So what that means is, if I'm throwing a left hook, this person is going to be bobbing underneath. They're going to end up, they've bobbed right, so they're going to throw their right. So if I throw my left, I'm going to catch their first shot with my right hand, or vice versa. If I throw my right, they're going to be bobbing left, they're going to come back with their left hook. Okay? Now, talking about shots to follow up from, we discussed that if we throw odd numbered shots, it's a good way to keep them moving to the same side. What I mean by that, let's say I got them to throw a 1-2, 1-2. And I want them to throw an odd number counter. So 1-2, they're gonna bob my left hook, they're gonna come back with a single shot, and they're gonna throw their right hand. 1-2, bob, right hand. We could start adding in what we did last video. Then I could throw a jab, so they're gonna have to slip, come back with a single shot. They've moved to the right hand side both times. 1-2, bob, right, slip, right. We're starting to put together things that we know. Or vice versa. Let's say I get them to throw a single off the other side. So I want them throwing a left hook entry, because if they throw a left shot in, they're going to bob left, they're going to counter back with their left. So I'll get them to go 1-2-3, 1-2, left hook. I'm going to throw my right so that they can bob to the left, they're going to come back with their left. Or I might go 1-2, left hook, they're going to bob, come back with their left hook. I'll throw my right hand so they can slip, come back with their left hook again. I could do it with a 3-shot counter. So I might go 1-2, bob underneath my left hook, right hand, left hook, right hand. Or 1-2, left hook, bob underneath my right hook, and you could throw a hook, cross, hook, something like that. All right. Now, if I want them going from side to side, we discussed already that double shot counters is a good way. So let's say I get them to throw a 1-2 in, they're going to throw their 1 and their 2. They're going to bob underneath. They're going to throw a right hand and a left hook. They're going to bob underneath. They're going to throw a left hook and a right hand. Okay, so that's, I can either getting them doing the odd shots if I want them staying on one side, or we can do the even shots if I want them switching from side to side. And as I mentioned, we can start adding in things we already know. So I could get them going 1-2, slip, right hand, left hook, slip, left hook, right hand, bob, right hand, left hook, bob, left hook, right hand. You can start putting your combinations together like that, or off the singles, whatever you want. What we're trying to give you is the framework so that you can make a million combinations. Rather than just learning the ones we say right here, you start understanding, okay, got that. Numbers, they're going to be staying on the same side. Even number counters, they're going to be switching from side to side. I know I can do that. I can make up my combinations, start adding in slips, start adding in bobs. So what's important to know is which way you're going to bob. Now, there's two things essentially that will dictate which way you're going to go. If you make contact and you punch through the target, so if I'm throwing a right hand, there's not a hard entry that pushes me back. If I punch through them, I'm going to roll with that shot and I'm going to end up getting ready to throw my right hand again. Likewise, if I hit them with a left hook and I punch through that target, I'm going to roll with it and I'm going to come back. It's worth noting that's also true if you completely miss. If I throw a right hand and they slip it, I'm going to roll because I want to try and get my balance back. I'm not going to keep going with it and throw myself off balance more. Likewise with my left hook. If they move out the way and I completely miss them, I'm going to try and get my balance back. Okay? However, if they were to physically stop the shot with a cover, which we haven't done yet, that'll be our next video. But if they stop the shot physically, what happens is I might get like a little bit of a retraction movement. Instead of going with the shot, because there's going to be a bit of separation from shoulder and jaw from that, I don't want to be doing that, because anytime I'm not covering my jaw is an opportunity for them to get hit. So if I feel that my hand has come back, I'm going to roll with that and I'm going to bob the other way. We're not covering that in this video. That will be the advanced version of this bob that we'll cover at a later date. But it is worth noting that you can go with the shot or you can come away from the shot. On my right hand, I can go with the shot or I can bounce off the shot. And generally, just so you know, one way you're going to throw right and throw right again. If you go with the shot, you'll make a circle. If you go away from it, I'm going to throw right, bob back in the opposite direction, and then throw left, or vice versa. Okay, so those are two things that will dictate whether you go with the shot or whether you come back away from it. In this video, we're just focusing on going with the shot. Okay, so that would be if you make connection, you punch through your target, or if you completely miss and you're using a way of regaining your balance. So the slips and bobs aren't just a good defensive maneuver with regards to punches coming directly at you, but they also start forming the basework of your head movement when you're moving around the ring. So you don't want your person moving around like this and only throwing shots when you tell them to. You want them getting in the habit of moving their head, because a moving target is a lot harder to hit, but also these movements set up your following shots. A bob and weave, if you've moved your head and you've bobbed underneath, you've got an incredible amount of power in your hips to come back with those hooks. You're going to gain extra power from that. So when you're slipping, you're just thinking all the shots. If I'm moved this way, I'm thinking all the shots I could throw with my left hand. If I'm moving this way, I'm thinking of all the shots I could throw with my right hand. So you start almost trying to feel things out with that head movement. So these movements that you're getting your person to do, as I said, is not just a way of getting out of the way of the shots, it's a way for them to create an opportunity to make their own shots. Because if someone's got really tight defense, you've got to teach your person how to create an opening. If it's not physically there, they've got to make it, maybe by fakes, maybe by moving their head to try and create an opportunity. And hopefully with these videos, you've learned how you can use your slip and your bob to do just that. So just to recap, make sure you're bringing your hands with you. Make sure you're not going straight to where you want to be. There's going to be a little rotation of your hip, which is going to happen if you throw a punch before it anyway. You're just going to keep rolling with the shot. Make sure you don't break eye contact and look down, and make sure your head movement isn't too big. Just enough is what you're looking for. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. If there's any questions at all, please do let me know, and I'll see you sooner than this last break, soon for the next video. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.